Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cinema 11, where we will be spending some time together talking about inspiring employees to own their career journeys. My name is Erin Scruggs, and I get the pleasure of introducing my friend and colleague, Linda. Linda Jingfang Tsai is a business transformation expert and a global people executive with 20 years of experience. Prior to joining us at LinkedIn, she had senior leadership roles at Aon, at State Farm, and at Diageo, and in the areas of change management, organizational development and effectiveness, and learning and development. Linda is a bilingual global citizen, having lived and worked on 3 continents and having made her home in China, Southeast Asia, the UK, and the United States. She is also the co-author of the book Share, How Organizations Can Thrive in the Era of Networked Knowledge, Power, and Relationships. Linda, that book title has been killing me all day. Like, how do I remember it? It's a long title. Linda currently lives in Chicago, Illinois with her family, and she enjoys daily reminders from her school-age daughter on how to embrace learning with joy, creativity, and imagination. I'm so thrilled to welcome her to the stage, and we're gonna have a great half hour.
Do I need to turn that on? Oh yeah, it's on. Suspense. I'll just say I'm just so happy to see so many of you here. It is 3:30 after action-packed 2 days. Oh, we're very over-mic'd. Let me just take this off. Hello, everyone. Now you can hear me? Yes. Great. Well, thank you for being here. It is 3:30 after action-packed 2 days. You have all the reason to go out and have a margarita or cocktail with your friends, and you decide to be here, so thank you. I am Linda Tsai. I lead talent development at LinkedIn. As Erin introduced, I had a little bit unconventional career path before coming to L&D. In my 20 years of experience leading business transformation, from culture, digitalization, to restructuring, I came to realize one thing. Companies consistently underestimate the need to upskill and reskill people. That's why they are anxious, they are afraid, and they can't embrace the future that companies desperately want them to embrace. So in 2017, I hit a wall, and I made a conscious career shift into L&D. And that was a true story, how I landed in this beautiful area, because I'm deeply passionate, as much as you are, about giving people the most precious asset, skills. I am thrilled to be here to talk to you all this topic very close to my heart, empowering everybody, inspiring them to own their own careers. Raise hand, in the past 2 years and a half, how many of you have to have a difficult conversation with either your spouse, your team, or your manager? That's it. Thank you. Thank you for being so cooperative. I remember very vividly the first interview with Twila Hansen, my current boss, Chief People Officer at LinkedIn. It was the first time, first interview, and my question was, does this job require reload? And she was very clear, no. And the conversation just went on. I always thought about, what if she said yes? My career would have been very different. I was so grateful that I work for a company that really valued flexibility and my personal life. I know this is not just my story, and it's probably your experience or the stories you hear. In the last 2 years and a half, we have witnessed a massive shift in terms of how people look at career, how they look at where and how they want to perform their jobs. And this is impacting everything. As we navigate the next period of economic uncertainty, I think the only way organizations can win and stay agile in this change is to turn this trend on its head, to start with people's success, to make sure that they have a sense of flourishment from their own career. In the next few slides, I'm going to share with you some cross-industry trends and statistics curated from millions of worker engagements and actions happening on LinkedIn platform and also our recent reports. I also want to share a little bit what we plan internally at LinkedIn to instill a skill-first mindset to encourage career development and internal mobility. And if you say, I've heard internal mobility so many times that I'm totally maxed out, I understand. And I want to remind you two things. One is that what we are talking here is not just a theory. It impacts every professional, no matter of your level, your industry, or your country. I also want to admit it's a wicked problem. It's like, we haven't completely figured it out. We are on this journey together. So I hope we have some time at the end to interact, to hear from you what you have learned and your curiosities. And I really hope to keep the dialogue going. The latest headline from 2022 LinkedIn Talent Report is that this is a transformative time for company culture and the talent. I remember back in February when I was doing a similar keynote and I was talking about the statistic that the percentage of LinkedIn members changing jobs has seen a 36% of increase year on year. This month, that number is the first time flat since March 2020. We are entering a period of great uncertainty with inflation and growth, with war still going on in certain parts of the world, and the labor market still look very tight for some time. One thing that CEOs and CHROs, and I hope you heard from Ryan this morning and also Twila, there's one thing for sure, there's no going back. Take a remote job, right? You probably heard before pandemic, it was 2% out of all the job postings on LinkedIn listed as remote, and now it has seen the peak in March at 20% and now probably 14%, but roundabout there. Another interesting change was pre-pandemic, the percentage of jobs on LinkedIn that doesn't require a 4-year college degree was 15%, and now it's 25%. So the way how we look at talent pool or talent is changing. Gone are the days that company can just rely on ping pong tables and free snacks and build a culture, and there are still ping pong tables and snacks at LinkedIn office, which I still love, no complaint. But we have to just really be intentional about how we design office to be a place that doesn't matter who you are and where you perform your job, you feel supported, you feel that you can reach your potential or even surpass your potential and do the best work of your career. Some more statistics, just as a refresher. You probably heard or has seen in our report, the headline here is that skill-first mindset will definitely drive higher retention, better engagement, and a workplace culture. And we've seen that in a lot more numbers, feedback, then these numbers can tell. But I picked these three because they are very representative. We know that if a worker doesn't feel his skill is utilized or learning new skills, he's 10% likely to leave and take his skill elsewhere. And if you look at Gen Z in particular, 76% of the Gen Z employees rated the opportunity to learn and grow new skill as the number one consideration when they look for a job. And that's very interesting because for all the previous generation, myself included, we listed comp as the number one reason when we consider jobs. So there's something there to be said for the young generation entering the workplace. And they are willing to trade up to 5% of their pay if another opportunity has better upside in terms of career development. And then lastly, and I hope this without saying, the majority of today's employees consider learning and growth as the number one driver when they think about amazing workplace culture. So there's a lot of business case already built for why we want to focus on upskilling and a career for our employees. Yet, the situation, the reality is not that promising. A top priority for HR leaders in 2022 is to bring critical skills into their organization. But only 47% of the HR professionals can articulate what skills currently exist in the organization. We've heard again and again throughout the past couple of days, all the different parts of HR need to work together, breaking silos, especially L&D and talent acquisition. And again, my amazing TA partners are all here, so we are trying to get closer. But 23% of the organization are actually confident they are working together. And then lastly, and this really breaks my heart, is that only 1 in 5 of the employees feel they can realize their career potential in their current organization, and they are supported by their managers and the organization to look for new opportunities in their current environment. So, there's a lot of work to be done. So, coming into LinkedIn, I promise you I'll share a little bit our journey and what we have done in this regard. When I first came to the role about 17 months ago, we conducted a global listening exercise just to uncover what is important to an amazing employee experience at LinkedIn. We interviewed hundreds of leaders, managers, and individual contributors, and we heard loud and clear that transformation is paramount to LinkedIn's employee experience. And we also realized not only they want to see transformation, they also want to do it in an environment that is supportive yet challenging. And they want to have fun. So that's a lot to unpack there. And when we dig even deeper, we realize, hey, we have an amazing learning culture. More than 50% of the LinkedIn employees attended in-person learning events. And we had, every month, we have dedicated in-day for all across the company employees to come together, investing in themselves, growing new skills. And we had Career Month, a lot of themed events to encourage them learn and grow. But in our engagement survey, in our access surveys, continuously we see that people still list lack of career opportunity as the number one reason that, on top of their mind. And that's particularly astute for underrepresented group of employees. So what's the problem? we realized that for LinkedIn employee, they need more transparency to understand what are the skills required for different roles. They want to have more support to close the skill gap so they can get closer to their destination roles. We also realize that when it comes to the internal hiring process, it needs to be easy, it needs to be equitable, it needs to be transparent. So we started a number of things. Firstly, we started with defining transformation as big and small transformations and broadening from just a promotion. So transformation could mean gaining a skills, adding a contact to your network on LinkedIn, or it could be working with different cross-functional teams, or it could be lateral moves or promotion. But it's really a broad range of a lot of things. And then we started with knowing your employees, right? There's no one-size-fits-all approach. And as LinkedIn matures and grow, becoming a more mainstream company, we realized that the employees that we onboarded are also changing faces. So, traditionally, we had a more tech-savvy employee coming from other companies in Silicon Valley. They're very aware, what needs to be done. They hit the ground and running. And they probably do some amazing things and move on to other tech companies or maybe smaller startups. But increasingly, we've seen more and more mid-career professionals, such as myself, being drawn by the mission to LinkedIn, not coming from probably tech, had a different learning curve to overcome, and really appreciate the opportunity to work with cross-functional teams, to broaden my network, to really embed myself in the culture. We also see, thanks to our diversity and inclusion effort, we are welcoming more and more diverse employees joining us, particularly at more junior or entry-level positions. And they also had very different need. They want a variety. They not necessarily have figured out, where they want to focus on their career, but they want a maximum exposure. And then once they have learned skills, yes, they want to see their career grow, and having the proper mentoring and the coaching opportunities to help them make the best decisions for their career. So it's very different. So to make sure that they understand what are the things to help them, to support them, we have to talk in a language that really suit their needs. We also focused on systemic things, such as how do we invest in our managers to be able to have proper conversations around current performance, potential, career mobility options, and really connect with employees in a way that is also aligned with our culture and values. We realized that the current talent management practices across functions are very inconsistent. The way we define performance, potential, the way we think about mobility is hindering us to breaking the silos and facilitate more cross-functional movement. So we have to fix that. And then thirdly, I can't actually read this. Right. We need a better framework to think about career. So we had a framework that's articulating education, experience, exposure. So making sure that people know what are all the jigsaw pieces that go into realizing a bigger transformation. Now, I'll talk to you just very quickly a couple of examples what we experimented and what we intend to scale up, and hopefully we have 5 minutes or so for questions. In Asia Pacific, this is a great success story how TA and TD work together, and I love this story. In Asia Pacific, we picked a very hard to fill role, software engineer, and we realized in the past 12 months, only 40% of that rec were filled, and the email, the proactive reach out, resulted in only 2% of the response rate. So when we dig into it, we realize there are two things. One is we over-indexed on the title when we did the reach out, and we were very fixed on the job descriptions. When we realized, if you look at the skill profile for software engineers in the market, there are emerging skills that other companies are paying attention to and are hiring for that are not in our job descriptions that will change how we think about the role. And the second, we worked with the economic graph team to compare different adjacent roles, such as data scientist or data analyst. There's actually a high degree of skill match with software engineer roles. So by doing these things, it really opened up the candidate funnel tremendously. We realize externally, we have up to 837,000 of potential immediate fit candidates. And internally, that's the most encouraging part, we have 167 immediately fit candidates that might not have the same title, but they could be, going for those opportunities. Once we had that, we encouraged hiring managers to reach out to those immediately qualified candidates, to build relationships, to talk to them about the opportunities. That's one thing. And we also made sure that those candidates that have some skill gap but could be upskilled have the opportunity to go through some learning programs and close the skill gap in critical areas. So I'm really excited that we could do this with the collaboration with our talent acquisition team in Asia Pacific, and we really hope that this will be the playbook for more and more hard-to-fill roles. And the other program we tried was called upskilling. It's also for a hard-to-fill role, and this is sales, especially in very competitive markets. But also sales is a very interesting area that a lot of people would love to break into that might not necessarily had a prior sales experience. So we designed this program which has several features. There is a education component to educate and help the interested candidates learn about sales roles. There is the exposure component to make sure that they could shadow current salespeople and really understand what this job involves. And then there's the blind assessment to make sure we focus on skills instead of other things that might create biases. And this is how the entire process look like. Okay, you can read better than I can read here, but you can tell that we did a lot of things to really focus on skills and put in a pragmatic, practical environment so we can make sure that the candidates can be successful and also the business can find the best match.